we still have this happening in this country. There are kids that are learning under trees. Honorable, how does that make you feel as someone who has occupied that position before?
I'm proud of what I did. Ghanaian students are now studying things that are not being studied in American school.
Some people feel like, look, even some of these GET fund is only given to privileged people within the parties and the government.
We are not asking our government for some serious accountability. In education, there are 3 things you always have to look at.
Honorable, how many of this were you able to implement in your 4 years?
Let me tell you what we did. We stopped examination leakages at the BUC level.
Apo.
The first year, all the regions had different questions. So you can't sit there and say number 1, A, number 2, B. Whose number 1 is A?
That's clever.
We're able to build 200 science labs across the country. Accra STEM Academy. So many great things are happening.
You run a system where it was free SHS with a country that doesn't have jobs. How do you feel that it's still imperative that we put more people through the same system that's not prepared to employ them?
It's the type of education that we are giving to the children. We are not creating innovators who are supposed to create the jobs.
So when you really look at the problems that we face as a nation, is the issue more leadership or the people?
I'll say leadership.
Isn't it the people that becomes the leaders? How are we going to really benefit from your leadership should that happen?
Focus on how do we eliminate poverty from the face of this country. Abject poverty. Poverty that you see and you can feel it. If you are the one affected, or even if you are not affected, you can look at the faces of people and see they are in pain and distress. For a young woman who has graduated from high school since 2019, sitting at home at a place that some of us don't even know, Ziyope, Agotime, in a village, and all hope is lost. I got a message from her yesterday, and he said, it's you and God that has brought me to where I am today. Where is she today? She's at UMatt, reading chemical engineering. But she had been at home since 2019. Never thought that she would ever get a chance to be at the university until I went there to campaign as a flag bearer aspirant, and I made a pledge to them that I would take care of one student from this community if you vote for me. They didn't vote for me, but I still felt that there may be a young person hiding somewhere in Ziyope Agotime that may need the redemption of my pledge.
You genuinely believe that humanity can eradicate poverty?
What I don't believe is if other countries have done it, why can't we?
In the US, where you've done a lot of work, there's still poverty.
Yeah, you see, but it's not abject poverty. If you don't have food to eat, there's a place that you can go to and get food to eat. There are government structures that will give you shelter, a place to sleep. So, abject poverty, helplessness, hopelessness, where there's no way out. That's what I'm referring to.
So I'm sure during your campaign message time, you went to some really remote villages that you thought to yourself, my goodness, this place exists in this country? And the question probably was also running through your mind that, will these people ever see the type of development we see in Medina or Adenta?
So it's just a human story. When you look at the buildings, you are looking at buildings, but it's a human story. The light, hiding somewhere in a village where I went to, had no hope. All hope was lost. And can you understand a young woman who has graduated from high school with excellent grades, and for Christ's sake, she did science and still stuck. 2019. 7 years thereafter, she gets an opportunity. And yesterday, early in the morning, when I read my WhatsApp messages and he's saying, Daddy, you saved me. I never thought I'll get to a place like where I am now. I'm now on UMatt campus, and I'm a chemical engineering student. There are so many delights all over the country.
But you're already doing that work with your philanthropic work. Like, you're already doing it. The question I always ask myself is that when men like yourself get to this pinnacle of life, impacting a lot of people, and still want to get to the highest office, I usually cannot marry that because the work is already being done. We see it.
On a very small scale. You've done 100 engineers, very small scale, and they are struggling to get a job. We haven't created an ecosystem for them to secure jobs. I'm now setting up a company to just support them get jobs. They are engineers. Very few of them. We graduate just about 7,000. Look at Vietnam. Vietnam is now the hub of manufacturing. Samsung has its largest manufacturing plant at Vietnam. They graduate 100,000 engineers every year. They've created an ecosystem for them to secure jobs. Companies are flocking there. When they are marketing Vietnam for foreign direct investors, they are telling them, engineers are damn a dozen here. Would you come here? So companies are flocked there. And the 100,000 engineers that they graduate every year secure jobs. We have 7,000. And you look at it, they are 90 million plus. We are 30 million plus. So if you do 100,000, you should be doing 33,000. But we do 7,000. Even that, we have not done enough for them to secure jobs. You have tall buildings going up across the country. And when you look at the fact that those buildings, the hotels that are being built by all these companies, Turkish companies, Chinese companies, you go in there and there are no Ghanaian engineering inspectors there. And you say to yourself, something is wrong. Now you have a situation where most of these buildings are using biometric devices for entry. So what it means is that you need some computer engineering building inspectors so that people don't hack into the building and lock out the doors and get people to die as a result. Yeah. But how many of them, how many of the municipal assemblies have those expertise and are even inspecting so that they can secure high-paying jobs for our graduates? So the bottom line is this. I'm doing something on a very small scale to create the ecosystem that will enable us to move forward as a nation to a place where you can see there's a boom and people are securing jobs everywhere you turn. It needs a governmental authority, an authority that says you've done STEM for high school students, but you're also going to do STEM for universities, and you're going to do it in such a way that there will be university-industry collaboration facilitated by grants, not by compulsion. Telling the universities you have to create partnership with industries doesn't work anywhere in the world. It's when you say there's a grant available for any university that want to partner an industry. And by the way, this is how the whole grant works. We give you 10% of it to develop the plan in detail with KPIs, and then we give you 40% for implementation as a first phase, second phase another 40%, another 10% for dissemination. And as a result, you have set them up to do well because you are marking and you are actually doing things that will enable them execute what you want them to execute.
And Auntie Julie's son in Ekurefita, in Achim Swabe, would be able to benefit from such you've just described.
You see, you have to begin to look at how do we institute gifted and talented education.
Okay.
6 to 10% of Americans are gifted and talented. And over a century ago, the country tapped into it and set up gifted and talented education schools. So from grade 3, when the teachers notice a student who has a special talent, or he can dance, he can put some cars together, begin to do some toy cars and other things, or they are super bright that any question you ask them, they answer. They are selected to go to a special school called GATE schools, Gifted and Talented Education Schools. So you see, sometimes you see on social media the person that you described doing something so unique and you wonder, how is this kid going to come out of this Kodobeda village and do something great. It doesn't happen by chance. We leave too many things to chance. If you have gifted and talented education schools, every district has one. And in those schools, you may have to do boarding from a younger age because you can't build one for every town.
Honorable, you were the education minister for 4 years. You were deputy minister before that. You are currently an MP. Your time where you're calling the shots, having conversations with people who matter in this country, were these topics discussed?
Of course. Got cabinet approval for gifted and talented education in Ghana, started building the schools where we could do gifted and talented education. You see, the thing is this. I don't make noise. I operated a Ministry of Education where most of the things I had to do, I didn't tell Ghanaians I was going to do it. I have experts that supported. I get cabinet approval. I do it before people even get to know me because there's too much talk about what we are going to do, and get the president to mention it in his speeches, and then it never gets done. So Ghanaians are sick and tired of that kind of politics.
Definitely.
So if you go to East Legon and you see Accra STEM Academy, there was no noise about it before the sod was cut. And after the sod was cut for the construction, there was no noise about it until the school was commissioned. And now when you go and see that building on the same road as Galaxy, Arayan, and all these private schools, and this is a public school, go and look at the equipment that is in there that students are using. And if you go and see and say, and I didn't hear about this, that's a new political framework that I developed. So Kumasi, as in boys, we had a building going up there. It's almost completed for gifted and talented education in Kumasi. The talented piece is where we're going to do creative arts from junior high to high school, going to recruit students from across the country to bring them there. And boarding will be from junior high all the way to 6 years of intensive creative arts education, like School of the Arts in Los Angeles, where most of the actors went through. Nothing is by chance. We leave too many things to chance.
Well, Honorable, I think...
So everything that I'm talking about is either I was able to, like, across them, we opened the school. All that we needed to do was to implement the gifted and talented education program at the school.
You didn't have enough time
to do that. But at least students are in there. But what will be fascinating is if you have the student taking the test in their schools and then channeling them through Accra STEM Academy, which, by the way, is a school that begins from kindergarten all the way to high school. So if you are bringing them at third grade from Accra straight from other schools in the area, they are coming to a school where they may stay there till high school is over.
We hear this all the time, and I'm sure even yourself, when you were growing up, you were getting frustrated by some of these things. And I tell you why. Because today, we still have this happening in this country.
Unfortunately.
There are kids that are learning under trees. But then when there's development, we take it to Kumasi, Accra. Honorable, how does that make you feel as someone who has occupied that position before?
I'm proud of what I did. Go to Jetokwe. It's the Volta region, a remote area. I transformed the school. Dilapidated structures. And now you go to Jetokwe. It's a different story. Go to Aza in Yellow Crop. Remote school. Totally transformed. But come to Osu, St. Barnabas. Dilapidated school at Osu, the former seat of government. And you will not believe the level of dilapidation that was there. Worse than any school you will see, even the remotest of villages. And this was Osu. I was just passing by one day and I decided to stop by the school. I couldn't believe that if it's raining, they have to shut the school down. The roof is leaking everywhere.
Is that because there's usually no maintenance plan?
You see, before we even get to maintenance, there's no sense of urgency.
On whose part?
On government and everybody. We are not asking our government for some serious accountability. Because I don't understand why the school can get run down like. You see, you should do something that is called predictive maintenance.
Okay.
So you budget for maintenance as part of Get Fund. Get Fund money is used for infrastructure. we should have a maintenance line item in there, because most of the time I hear people saying that Ghana doesn't have a maintenance culture.
Do we, Honorable?
You don't have a maintenance budget. And that is why you don't have a maintenance culture. If there was money set aside and there's an organization that does maintenance and the money goes to them, why would there be no maintenance? So we kid ourselves by saying there's no maintenance culture. Oh, Ghana, you need maintenance culture. You don't have a maintenance budget. I budgeted for maintenance for the first time in my free senior high school budget. And because of that, I could walk into Osu Presec and send contractors there the next day to transform the school, and they did because I had a budget. And the finance minister did not deny me. When I asked for the budget to maintain schools, they gave me the money.
But, look, whenever I get the opportunity to speak to persons like yourself, I have 1 billion questions.
Yes.
Because I sit on the other side.
Yes.
And then you sit on this side.
You see, there's a gap between my side and your side.
Yeah.
And that is why we are connecting today.
Yeah,
it's connecting the mind. Because the bottom line is that you hear people, right?
Yeah.
On social media, lambasting us sometimes.
Yeah.
And I say to myself, I've done it.
But we don't see it.
We don't see it. That's why we are here today. We are connecting.
Let me stop you here for a minute. So if it's your first time watching Konnected Minds, or you have been here before but still have not subscribed, do us a favor, because majority of the people that watch our videos have not subscribed. This doesn't help us grow beyond what we expect. So help us by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you. Now let's get back to the conversation.
So if there are some things we haven't done and we have to do, at least we agree that some things have been done. And we need to do more.
Right.
And we need to have continuity, irrespective of government, so that if Dr. Adutwum is not there, we still should have a maintenance budget for senior high schools. Let me tell you, I'm the first, and probably the first in the history of the country, to get clearance to recruit estate managers for high schools so that they can maintain the buildings. So as I speak with you, I was able to recruit 100 maintenance officers who are people who have graduated from land economy, estate management, building technology, and I posted them to all the highly populated high schools across the country. I went to their training at Aviation. So when you talk about maintenance, I even hired the people. I budgeted for the people. Because I don't understand why we cannot create a maintenance culture by having the people and the money.
So in your case, you saw the need to have a maintenance budget.
Yes.
And you started to implement some of them. But in other areas in this country, where for donkey years, we have not had maintenance culture.
That is why you need somebody at the helm who understands.
But then when you have these conversations among your peers, do they not see reason into why they need it in other areas?
Exposure is very important. Your eyes must be open to certain things for you to do it. I tell myself I'm one of the luckiest education ministers in the world.
Why?
Because not only did I teach school in America, I built schools in America. I own schools in America. How can you own schools in America and you don't do maintenance? So everything that seems to be a gap here, I look at through the lens of America, I see the gaps, and I begin to fix it. So when I look at how countries have transformed their fortunes, and fortunately for me, my PhD was in international education, and I look at how Singapore developed, studied how South Korea developed, how Vietnam is rising, and I saw that the most important vehicle was STEM education.
Right.
So I come to Ghana, become Minister for Education. I say to myself, Mr. President, we can change the course of history of this nation by implementing STEM education. He said, go ahead and do it. We can change the course of history of this country by doing gifted and talented education, because the 10% of the people that are born with special gifts, they were given to this country to transform the fortunes of this country. But we leave them frustrated. We leave them frustrated in the classroom every day. The gifted child is sitting there and saying to himself, I can solve this problem better than the teacher. But how dare him challenge the teacher? He will be in trouble. Gifted children in Ghana are the most miserable of all students. They are the ones who are more likely, if we are not careful, to even drop out. Because they don't get why certain things should be done in a certain way. But there's no avenue for them. So when you have limited resources and the very ones who are gifted and talented and can help you transform, you are not investing in them, how do you change your country? How do you transform your country? In education, there are 3 things you always have to look at. It's called access, quality, and relevance. So access means it's everyone getting opportunity to be educated.
Right.
Because the ones you leave out may be the ones who are gifted, but they happen to come from a remote village. The ones who are sitting under the trees and their classrooms are leaking and they don't get teachers to go and teach them may be your Einstein. But you've forgotten and left them behind. So when you do access and open the floodgates, also make sure that there's quality education. And you can't do quality education without infrastructure. Quality infrastructure. Without equipment. We're able to build 200 science labs across the country. Why did we do that? Because you have to improve the quality of the education that you are offering. I was traveling around opening the science labs everywhere. Now, then one most important thing before I get to relevance is assessment. What is the exams that the children are writing? When I went to the United Nations and spoke, I said something which came extempore. I did not write it down. I said that we cannot memorize our way out of poverty, but we can innovate our way out of poverty. It went viral. Now, what I meant was simple. You cannot have a curriculum where the student can just memorize and the exams is so easy that way and they can pass. In Ghana, they call it chew, pour, pass,
CPPF.
Chew, pour, pass, and forget. Now, if that is in America, they say rote memorization. They have gone away from it many, many, many years ago. And why are they doing that? You need critical thinkers.
That's right.
To change your country. So if your education system is through rote memorization, then every student, every child can go to junior high, high school, university, and you still not develop. Because they are still going to wait for somebody to give them instructions.
Yeah.
Our education system, from the exam that we are taking, we are preparing the children for routine tasks. We are preparing the children for a manager-led task where the manager has to tell the child, do this, do this, do this, and they'll do it for you. We are not preparing them for a situation where they will come to a company like KNUST and they are able to say, I think we can do this better. We can do things this way. We are not preparing our students for that because the assessment does not require that. The exams does not require critical thinking.
Right.
So the teachers teach the lowest level possible. We have something in education called the New Bloom's taxonomy or the Web's depth of knowledge. It simply says that the lowest level of learning is remembering.
Okay.
Just remember what I'm talking about. So I'm sitting in front of you. After I finish, you remember something that I said. Your audience may remember something that I said, but may not understand it.
Right.
So when you get the children to remember, that is when in the exams you ask them why, how, when. But if you want them to understand, it is a different level where you have to use analogies and other things for them to really begin to appreciate the concept that is being taught. But beyond understanding, they have to apply. So when they are applying, they're a little bit above understanding. Because not only do they understand how it works, they are using it to do something profound. But application is just the middle of it. They should be able to evaluate and synthesize before you go to creating something.
Okay. But Honorable, how many of this were you able to implement in your 4 years?
Let me tell you what we did.
Okay.
Before I took over, we had done the reform of the junior high school curriculum. But we have not assessed the students well. We have not changed the BEC. So it was during my time, 2021, that the first assessment of the BEC was going to be done.
Okay.
So we have told the world that we cannot memorize our way out of poverty, right? And we have to be critically
We need to do something about it.
So I called the WAEC people and said, come and show me the kind of question that is going to come on the exam. There were 40 questions on a particular test. So I asked them, how many of the questions on these exams coming up are on remembering? Out of the 40, 20 were on remembering. 10 was on understanding.
Okay.
Another 10 on application.
Right.
Synthesis and evaluation and creating was out. That's when I told them this is a case of a tail wagging the dog. The country wants critical thinkers, but you don't want critical thinking in your exams because you are WAEC. I said, no, you can't take the lead for the country. The country should tell you what to assess the students on. So they took it back. 2 weeks' time, they brought it back, and they had changed it, and I was satisfied because 40% of the questions were on critical thinking, which was synthesis, valuation, and creating. Then it gets to WAEC, WASCE.
Yeah.
WASCE is not just Ghana. BEC is just Ghana, so
Right.
you can tell them what to do.
Okay.
When it comes to WASCE, it's not just Ghana, it's the whole West Africa. So I raised the issue with the other West African ministers. We didn't finish the conversation. I came back to Ghana, called WAEC Ghana. I said, we are changing our high school curriculum. And I want to change in terms of your exams. Because you see, the bottom line is this. If the exam do not change, teachers will not change what they are teaching. If I'm a teacher,
They work the other way around with the curriculum.
yes, because you see, generally, there's something in education called curriculum, instruction, and assessment.
Okay.
They design the curriculum, which is like the syllabus, what you want the children to learn. Then you instruct them on it, and after that, you test them.
Okay.
So we call it CIA. So, not the American CIA. I call it CIA. So most people think that, oh, just do the curriculum. Just do the instruction. After that, do the assessment, and you are done. But invariably, the assessment will determine what people teach. They will take some of the things outside the curriculum because it doesn't come on the test.
Right. They are not being assessed on it.
So if you are a nation that wants to bring transformation, you first of all look at your assessment and you direct how you want the test to be. Then everybody is going to scramble and teach it. But invariably, we don't look at it that way. So instead of assessment coming last, assessment should be first. We have to tell the country and tell the teachers that we want children to be able to do this. Then you walk your way backwards as to how they are going to do it. So invariably, we have it reversed. And therefore, we are not getting the critical thinkers.
Right.
And invariably, with that critical thinking, then you're in trouble. So if you don't improve the quality by bringing out critical thinking in your education system, every child will go to school, and because they are memorizing, they are not creating anything.
But that's what we've been seeing for years.
Yes, and now it's changing. Why is it changing? This year, for the first time in the history of our nation, 33 high schools are piloting the critical thinking WASCE.
And that was instigated by yourself?
Of course. 33 of them. And the questions are different. The funny thing is that when you enter the schools, I went to Bosontwe Girls, they are one of the schools, and the children will tell you that our questions are going to be at the critical thinking level. Our questions are coming from level 3 and 4 of the web's depth of knowledge. They know all that. So everything they are studying is to improve their thinking so that they can answer the questions. In those kind of exams, you don't repeat questions that much.
Right, right.
So the teachers look at how we can improve the critical thinking skills of the student, because the exam that is coming is not something that you can memorize and write. 33 schools have done it. And you know what is happening now? Nigeria now wants to do it. Sierra Leone wants to do it. Liberia wants to do it. They've all come to Ghana to learn about how the exam, how they can test with Ghana. And as a result, we introduce new global level high school courses. Now we have biomedical science being taught in high school, engineering sciences being taught in our high schools, robotics being taught in our high schools, computer science, advanced computer being taught in our high schools.
Public schools.
Public high schools. So the new STEM schools like Abomosu, Pasempe, Daba, all Bosomchi Girls, all these schools are doing all these subjects. Aviation and aeronautical sciences are being taught.
Are we going to roll it out to the other schools?
The new schools are doing it, but so are the existing schools. They were offered the chance to select a STEM course for their students. So Presec is doing engineering science.
Right.
Opokwari, Prempeh, they are doing robotics as a course. Because they will go abroad and win competitions in robotics, but it won't show up on their transcript because it is not offered as a course in their school. And now it has changed. There are schools in remote places where they are doing some of the STEM courses. Go to Goso, Ahafumai, they are doing aviation.
Honorable, this is all well and good. But the problem is that there's also some people in schools where we have seen on the internet where computer is being drawn on a board.
That's why we launched B-STEM. I know this new government has also relaunched it, which is good. So that STEM will not just be a high school thing, it will also be a basic school thing. And they've rolled them out. In remote communities, you have to be able to do a mobile lab. You see, the good news is that something is being done. We just have to continue. But invariably, most Ghanaians think nothing is happening. It's a basket case.
Well, I guess because if they can't see it at the lower level, then
but it's there. You see, the thing is this. We have them. We've distributed equipment to a number of basic schools across the country.
Some people feel like, look, even some of these get fund and it's only given to privileged people within the parties and the government.
There's so much hopelessness that has led to helplessness, and people think nothing good can happen in Ghana until they hear that Ghanaian students are now studying things that are not being studied in American schools. When they see Accra STEM Academy and they live in America, they are saying my neighborhood school is not like this. This school is better than my neighborhood school in New Jersey. So many great things are happening. But the challenge you have is the lack of opportunity for continuity. So I would do these great things, leave it 4 years. I don't know what's going to happen.
Why? Like, why? Like,
because
this
we
question,
are not
why does it keep happening all the time?
We are not holding the politicians to account. Let me tell you. I've been in politics. What was the country expecting from me as Minister for Education? Maybe little. All that they wanted me to do is to make sure I hire teachers and pay them on time. So every year, we're hiring 20,000 teachers. The last 2 years, they've done about 7,000, which is so unfortunate. 30,000 classrooms are without teachers because we have refused to hire teachers the last 2 years, the optimum that is needed. So if I hire teachers, people will praise me, right? So we default to the minimum, invariably. Politicians are held to account for the minimum that they do. But if you happen to be Dr. Adutwum and you work in the education system, you know how you can change your country, and your president gives you the free hand to do it. You want to do it. You want to do what people never expected would be done. No Ghanaian was expecting to see Accra STEM Academy. Nobody was expecting to see some of the things transforming Osu Presec. Osu Presec is Osu Presec. Who was asking me from Osu that school should change? Who was asking me that St. Barnabas should be transformed? If you go and see how we transform the school and even change their uniform so that they can think differently. I gave a donation to the school to take the children on a field trip to Legon for them to see university for the first time coming out of Osu.
Let's talk about the skills required to get jobs done in comparison to the degrees and the qualifications people hold from institutions in the country. Because most of the time, you get people who come out. As a matter of fact, there was a young chap I worked with in London in my business. And when he came in, he had studied computer science. Mm-hmm. He didn't know what MySQL was.
No.
He was clueless. Why?
You see, the issue you're going to have is that the soft skills is not integrated into the curriculum the way it should be. Right? So the new high school curriculum, which we did with the support of MasterCard Foundation. They provided funds for the development of the curriculum, began to incorporate the soft skills, the communication skills, critical thinking skills, collaboration skills, the 4 C's into the curriculum.
Work placement.
Work placement, yeah. So bottom line is this. You know that schools in the US at the high school level do internship. And the new curriculum that we brought, we required and expected internships. So when the schools get their new WASCEs, the premise was that now you can go to a company, biomedical science. They were working with tribals, university, here. At a clinic, the high school students were doing that so that they can get a hands-on experience coming out of high school at the university level. And one of the things that I've seen done, which Ghana we need to do, and when we did the high school reform, the next phase was university reform. But you can't do university reform the same way you do high school. High school principals come together, you tell them this is where the country is going, they will go and do it, right? Universities, you have to institute a grant program, free money. And you tell the university, this is where we are going. Everyone who wants to go in this direction this year, there's money for you. That is how you change university education. It's not directive. If you are riding on your high horse, you are the minister for education, Ghanaian universities are going to do this, it will not be done. I'll give you an example of what I did with grants. You see, living in America and seeing that there are situations where some students wanted to do more of elective science courses, maybe at the school they went to, they couldn't, but they get to the university and they get a second chance to reconsider and do science there and go and do medicine or do engineering. But Ghana, what was happening in this country is that after high school, dead end. If you didn't do science, never dream of becoming an engineer unless you go to UK or you go to America. That is where you're going to get a second chance. You may be very talented, but the high school that you went to didn't have science lab, so you didn't do science.
Right.
And that is it. I went to a high school. Maybe that's why I have a soft spot for these students. I went to Jetokwe Senior High School for O-level. We didn't have science lab. So none of us could do science. And that is it. It's done. You'll never be an engineer. You'll never be a doctor if you stayed in Ghana. So when I became a minister, what I saw was a simple thing. I saw that if visual arts students were in America, they can become engineers, and probably they'll be the best engineers because they are more imaginative and creative. Engineering came from drawing, but those who can draw are the ones who say you will never be an engineer if you stay in Ghana. I'm not saying water down the science requirement. I'm not saying water down the mathematics requirement. I'm just saying if after graduating from high school with very good test scores, the child feels like, I wish I had done science.
Right.
Give him 1 year to come, pre-engineering. 1 year where he doesn't do the English and the socials that he has already passed, but do elective mathematics, chemistry, and physics. And if he passes the exams to show proficiency like somebody who has done science, what stops him from pursuing engineering? But if I was to tell university to do that, nobody would do it. So I gave them grant. I told the university, whoever wants to do this, when you come, we'll give you money. And apart from Legon, all the universities submitted a proposal to do pre-engineering.
I see.
And the best proposal was that of Pentecost University and UMatt. We took those, funded them, and the rest is history. In fact, the evaluation that they've just done, their final year students are coming out this year, and the results show that they have a higher GPA than those who did science because they are fully determined. They've had the opportunity of a lifetime, something that they never thought they would get the opportunity to do, and therefore they kill themselves to study.
Right.
And they come to engineering from a very practical perspective. They did home economics, they did visual arts, and all these other courses. They are coming to engineering from a different perspective altogether. So we're going to get a mixture of different breed of engineers in the country, and those I'm excited about more are the visual artists. Because if they are part of any project team, and they were doing computer engineering, the visual part of the software development, software engineering, those people, now that they've mastered their mathematics and all that other courses, will do better software than those who came straight from science without a visual arts background. I'm just using this to say that universities invariably cannot be compelled to do certain things, but you can incentivize them.
Right.
To do so many things for your country, whether it's research, innovation, university, industry, collaboration, with money following, great things will happen because they will run for the money and do the work for the betterment of the nation.
Honorable, I had two young men here. One was a 19-year-old who is not actually going to university. And his point was very simple, is that the unemployment is brutal. He would go and then finish and he won't get a job to do. You run a system where it was free SHS. So what that meant was that a lot more people are going to have access to education. Now, with a country that doesn't have jobs for people who are educated and have certificates, how do you feel that it's still imperative that we put more people through the same system that's not prepared to employ them?
This is one thing that we all need to understand. It's a chicken and egg
situation,
situation. Because invariably, it's the type of education that we are giving to the children. That's the reason why we are not getting the job the way we should.
You think there are jobs?
We are not creating innovators who are supposed to create the jobs. Now, Oxford University, for example, have gone away from the classical education that we're offering. Now, a certain percentage of their graduates are creating jobs before they leave. If you don't incentivize that space, look at the top companies in the software space, in the computer space, were they created by people like me? They were created by young people who sometimes left the university.
They said they don't have capital.
And that is where the facilitation should come.
Right.
Angel investors should be incentivized. That if you do angel investing and you facilitate the work of these young people, we will exempt you from corporate taxes for a certain number of years. The amount that you invest in these young people, whether you did well or they didn't do well, at least we are waiving taxes, and therefore you can redeem some of your loss. So we reduce the risk for you as an angel investor. And by the way, instead of us setting up all these organizations that give away monies, why are we not giving those monies to angel investors who know how to invest in the right businesses as no interest loans from the government to angel investors?
Honorable, this conversation is so sweet. And I say that because it almost as if anytime I speak to a politician, they are not the problem. At least as the conversation progresses, I figure out that they have all the ideas.
If the politician has not done it, it's different. Me, most of the things you're going to ask me, I've done it. And I'll tell you, this is how I did it.
Yeah.
So if you are talking to me, be ready to know that most of the things you've come on, I will tell you, this is how I did it. It may not be, we are not continuing, but at least when I was there, I saw that something needed to be done. So I'm not here to blame anybody and say it's the fault of this, it's the fault of that.
Yeah, but Honorable, like what you are saying about angel investments being backed, given the support by government. I mean, you may well also say that the government can set up an institution that invests in small businesses, right? Or invest in people who are coming out of either university or SHS with brilliant ideas.
Let me tell you, we had them. We had them. If you come to the Ministry of Education, there was an organization through TVET service that were investing in companies. Good. Some of them, they did very well. But I'm thinking for efficiency, you can do both. Incentivize angel investor. Why am I saying that? An angel investor look at risk and look at opportunity.
Yep.
So if you ask me for somebody whose ministry did some of this investment in companies, I'll tell you, I should rather do both. And let the angel investor know that you can invest in these young people and you are not going to pay taxes on the revenue that comes to you. And if I do that, I think the government will have a much better impact than just a government agency giving monies away to people to expand. I'd rather go through an angel investor with a track record,
Right.
who can support the young men. And when they succeed, he's also succeeding.
Right.
And the government is cutting him a slack from taxes on top of it. So I think we have to do both.
But then we both agree that of the 500,000 people that are coming out of schools waiting for jobs, the government cannot support all of them.
And I can also agree with you that entrepreneurship, at least coming out of university, is not for everyone. There are some people who need to have some experience with something before they can become entrepreneurs. They must be in the industry and they see how things go. Not everyone can just come out of the university and he's an entrepreneur.
Right.
Not everyone. So job creation is a critical aspect of what we need to do in order for us to hire the graduates who are coming out. So I'm not the type that will say, let's just get them, support them to set up their own businesses. No. I rather would say a private business that want to expand. How do we incentivize? If a private business might hire a graduate, do we exempt him from some taxes per the graduate that they hire, the number that they hire? Why would I do that? Yeah. I would do that because, you see, if I waive taxes for the company based on the number of graduates that they hire, that graduate is going to pay income tax. And it will literally replace the tax that I have waived for that private company. So at the end of the day, it was done in the US, during Obama's time. They started incentivized companies that were employing graduates. And consequently, more companies were doing that. But you also have to begin to seriously look at the purchasing power issue, livable wages issue. You want people to produce for what market? When you are paying people 2,000 cedis, and you know it doesn't suffice for transport, but that is what you are paying them. If we don't confront the issue of lack of livable wages in this country, you're going to be stuck in a hole for a long time to come. Something needs to be done. Productivity needs to be increased, yes, but we need to find a way to pay people wages that they can live on. And some people will say, why do you do that? The other people even don't have jobs. If we start in paying, but productivity is what the multiplier effect of it is what creates more jobs. Let me tell you, when you look at what we are confronting, I always tell people this, that if America was in the same situation that we are in, what would they do? They'll be thinking. Some brains will be working across the political divide. People will be thinking, because at that point, it's not about politics.
Yeah, but
it's about the survivor of our nation.
Is there nobody else in your party and the other party that supports some of the things you are saying? There's nobody, there's no one that supports what you're saying, that you know, that's a friend, that's a colleague. There's nobody. What I'm trying to drive at is honorable. If there are even two people within your party that support what you are saying, that's a great start. Then we can keep spreading it out to get more people aligned.
Yeah, do you know how people may do this? It will surprise you that people may hear this from your platform and they begin to look at, why don't we? Why can't we?
Right.
So great ideas normally don't come when I go and tell somebody. It's when people sit there and begin to see, wow, these are great ideas. Why can't we? And why should we do? Why shouldn't we? And when the population also demanding. Unemployed Graduates Association, for Christ's sake, no. Something ought to change. But when elections is going on, how many of us are held to account on that? You sign a 7-point plan for graduate employment before I'll vote for you if I'm a graduate. Give me the plan. And when you come and you are not doing it, I'm going to make noise and next I'll kick you out.
But when they come, they don't do it.
But you have the power. The people have the power. You see, look at the work that we're doing in education. It came to a point that, hey, Ghanaians said, here's the essay. But after you show me the essay, compare and contrast and advise yourself next time. And let people know, let people know that we as a nation is demanding this from you. If you tell the party that you are going to vote for, that when you come back to power, Look for people across the aisle and let them help you do what we expect you to do. And if you don't do, vote you out. You have set a benchmark for them. But it's business as usual. My brother, me, I care deeply about this country. That's why I tell people it's not about politics. If anybody calls me and says, Dr. Adutwum, we want your expertise, can you advise us, even if not in the open, in the back door? I'm willing to do that because this country must transform its fortunes. We are not in a good place. Don't allow people to kid you that we are resetting something and we are going to see transformation. My brother, the journey to the land of transformation is not yet midway.
I see.
Because if you want to transform your country, the research will tell you that your economy must grow between 10 to 12% for 20 years consistently, average.
We're nowhere near.
We do 4%, and you think your country is being transformed? No. Whether it's MPP or NDC. When you are growing at 5%, 6%, and you are telling Ghanaians that we are on track to transformation. How do you get on track to transformation when graduates are not getting jobs? When the economy is being transformed, Kwaku will come and say, hey, I'm going for a job interview. I'm getting a job here. And we are selling the country and letting people know, getting the foreign direct investors to know that Ghana have a strong STEM program. Our young people have critical STEM skills. We have changed our curriculum. Come to Ghana instead of Vietnam. Vietnam, because of the engineers they are producing, and also because of the new exams that they have there for critical thinking, Vietnam is now the place for industries to go. So if you look at education and you're talking about national development, then you have to look at the relevance of education for national transformation. So you can do the quality, critical thinking is there, but is the critical thinking taught in only social studies, or you have engineering? You have done labor needs assessment of your country.
Yep.
And you know that the country needs more engineers, they need more medical doctors, they need more nurses, they need more that, and then your education system is set up to produce those. So if you don't have a labor needs assessment that you are following, then what it means is that you are just educating everyone. There are some courses that are being offered. When I was the minister, I challenged universities about that. And I remember going to the New Year school, and I spoke about we don't need anybody to offer courses called development studies, to study development. No. And it was being offered at UDS. So the vice chancellor called me the day after and said, Minister, because of the comment that you made, a student have just come to check out of development studies. And I said, it's good for him. It's good for him. It's good for him. Because you know, and I know that that course is not taking the student anywhere. They have courses called development education. It doesn't qualify the student to teach. And I don't know what industry, what company is going to employ students who have done development education. You go to the University of Ghana and they have a course in education that they call BA in Education Non-Teaching. They come and do their national service, and after national service, they are frustrated because nobody is hiring them. So university degree to nowhere. So you wonder why you have graduate unemployment. When you have allowed universities to set up branch campuses everywhere, and they are all offering teaching as a course. And you know the number of teachers we need in the country is shouldn't be that high. So when, through GTech, I asked them to meet the universities that were offering course education, this was a conversation, because what we are doing is insane. It's not helping.
They are just filling up the spaces at the university.
Yeah, because you see, they are coming and they are paying monies to come, and the universities like it. But at the end of the day, GTech should be able to step up and say, we need 10,000 engineers every year. Therefore, universities should be doing 10,000.
Right.
We need 50,000 of this. Even the UK is done. So you don't just allow universities to educate, because every student wants business administration, to have so many students graduating from business administration, and you know the jobs in business administration is not there. But if they were to do cyber security, the police service need them, the military need them, so many companies, and in case Ghanaian companies don't need them, companies abroad need them, and they will stay in Ghana and work for those. India is doing it. They have IT hubs everywhere, Bangalore, everywhere. And the companies who are in the IT hub village or city are working for companies abroad. The employees are working for companies abroad. We can do same here. We have talented children, which if you guide and make them critical thinkers, can also behave or work like the Indian companies are doing. But if you don't revamp the whole education system and do education to somewhere and not education to nowhere, you cannot confront and solve your graduate unemployment problem. Because you look at it this way, somebody did sociology. We are not going to allow him to do a master's degree or a postgraduate diploma in computer science because he did sociology. If in the US, he will be allowed to. So you have to do major graduate retraining. If we see that the job is in software development, all those who did sociology, they will be the best software developers once we give them the foundation in computer science. Why do you put a barrier in their way and say that if you did sociology, you cannot do postgraduate studies in computer science? But it doesn't have to even be a postgraduate. It can be a certificate that ensures that they have industry certification in the field. So we have to do a serious labor needs assessment and alignment, and also we shouldn't forget foreign language. Most universities in the US require you to take a French or Spanish course, because one day you may work in Spain. We are surrounded by Francophone countries and we are not proficient in French.
Yeah, but we are trying to stay away from that, Honorable. Honorable, isn't that what we are trying to do? Isn't that what we are trying to embrace our culture and the way we do things a lot more?
Looking inward with your culture, you can still be resilient in your culture and be great globally. You can be proficient locally and conquer globally. So the idea that you turn to our Twi language, and you can do Twi and do English at the same time and be proficient in both. It's called bilingual education. A child can do 3 languages at the same time. It shouldn't be an either-or proposition. It should be both.
Right.
Unfortunately, those of us who are educated are sometimes talking about cultural transmission and saying that we should be able to get our children to learn in Twi and Ga, and that is what we should do. But we send our children to international schools where they don't know Ga and they don't know Twi. And then we want the rest of the population
to do the Twi and the Ga.
And the Ga.
Honorable, I'm going to read a statement to you. So our ex-president asked you this question in LA. Would you consider coming back to Ghana to help change the education system? You've done your work for the 4 years. But a few years ago, then I saw that you wanted to stand as a flag bearer for a new patriotic party. As an entrepreneur, educationist, why?
My brother, I came back to Ghana with some serious motivation, and I wanted to seize the political platform so that we can change this country. I grew up very poor. I almost didn't go to high school. So I understand how it feels like to be poor and to be helpless and to not know what to do. Don't know where the next meal is coming from. Your mom is struggling. Or your dad is on the cocoa farm and comes back to your hometown maybe every 6 months or sometimes every year. It's Christmas time. In those days in the village, you have to have your Christmas cloth. And your dad is not back. And you're going to be one of the kids in the village that doesn't get a new shirt and shorts for Christmas. You are traumatized because people are going to laugh at you. So this young man gets lucky by the grace of God, goes to America and building school for the Americans. I have 200 employees. And I say to myself, God has been good to me. But I also begin to wonder what is happening to children who right now are just like when I was growing up, and what is going on with them. And I say to myself, if I get opportunity, I'll do something that can change their fortunes. And that is why when Anna asked me, would you consider coming back? Even though things were great for me, the experience and the American dream, I still decided that I would come back because I was thinking about those back there in the villages whose parents were not as lucky as me, getting opportunity to do some big things. If they couldn't, how can I get their grandchildren to be able to do what I've been able to do? So to me, it was more about self-actualization. It wasn't so much about me and what I need. It was about feeling good that you can make an impact in the world. And that is why my motivation for coming to Ghana. And I said to myself, he wanted me to come. He didn't actually say go and run in Parliament. But I felt like if I'm going to support you, I'd rather go to Parliament. I get to Parliament, get the opportunity of a lifetime deputy minister, then minister for education. And then I said to myself, this is my opportunity. At that time, I have gone to Harvard and I've crafted my legacy statement. They supported us through Big Win philanthropy and a number of education ministers, and they wanted us to craft our legacy statement that if you are no longer the minister, what is your country going to remember you for? At that session, I crafted my legacy statement that in the history of Ghana, I'll be remembered as the one who brought about STEM education. So I step into the seat with a clear focus that if Singapore did this and succeeded, Vietnam is doing it and they are succeeding, why can't Ghana do it and change the course of history of our nation? So that motivation, to me, is a development motivation. Development through education. So to me, education is just a springboard. I'm not looking at education for its own sake, that I'm building STEM schools and I'm excited. No. What the STEM school is going to do is what I look at.
Honorable, at what point did you decide that I'm going to pick up the phone and stand
and contest?
Yes.
This is what happened. When Anadu came there and saw what I was doing and asked me the question that you just posed to me, I went and I met a mentor of mine, an African American, may he so rest in peace, Mervyn Dimley. He was originally from Trinidad and Tobago, and he came to America as an immigrant just like me, and he became my mentor. He was a lieutenant governor of California before he went to Congress, and he was a political animal. From Congress, he came back and went to the State Assembly.
Right.
And he was my mentor. So when Anado asked me that question, I was thinking about it, and I went to see him. I remember going to a place called WASCE for lunch with him. And at the lunch table, I posed the question to him. And I said, you see, somebody's running for president in Ghana. He wants me to come back to Ghana and help him change the education system. What should I do? So Dr. Mervyn W. looked at me and said, yeah, I'll tell you one thing. We appreciate the work that you are doing in South LA, but America can do without you. Maybe your country cannot do without you. So I will advise you to go and help your country. It was settled for me. When he said that, I received it as if God was speaking to me. I came home, discussed with my family, and said, we are going to Ghana. There was no if and buts. I was fully convinced. At that, I had 200 workers. And I had to get someone to take over the school so I come back to Ghana. To me, it was almost like a ministry. Not a ministry from the point of view of political ministries, but a ministry from the point of view of religion.
Right,
Spiritual mission. And my whole thing, my motivation was that there has to be more Adutwums in this country. And if there are going to be more Adutwums, who better create them than the Adutwum who knows how it is to be poor and get out of poverty and empower American children and then come back to empower Ghanaian children and get them to a pedestal where they can begin to see that the fortunes of our nation will be better if we take the trajectory of quality and relevant education that empowers them to think critically, education that empowers them to challenge the status quo as children. Say, sir, I like what you are teaching us, but I think it can be done in a different way. And for the teacher to appreciate the fact that that child is in a respectful way, telling him something that he can also learn from that child. If we get to that point, then I know my work is done. And for the work to be done, it can't end at the Ministry of Education. So my whole motivation for stepping in was that I can engender a new national conversation, a conversation that says the better days of Ghana is ahead of us and not behind us. And if we're going to create that better day, those better days can be created 70% of the time through education. Other countries have done it, and we can do it. Through the hidden curriculum, not just the explicit curriculum. The hidden curriculum are images, ideas that you build into the education system that empower a child. They don't learn that as a lesson, but it's incorporated in the school. Activities that are incorporated into the school. Things that they do, the clubs that they form, volunteering that they do.
You know, you were essentially poached from your own business. Essentially, right?
Nobody has said it that way,
right? Essentially, to get into the position of being a deputy minister and then a minister of education. But this time, you are having to convince people that you are the man for the job.
Yes.
How are they going to believe what you say?
Every election that you run, sometimes you may lose because somebody won.
Right.
And he won because his message culturally resonated. We are in a culture of second chance. So if somebody has just gone one time, right? And he's saying, then give me a second chance. I mean, it's a message that resonates. So another person may come and say, look at me.
Right.
I can do this. And they will say, your time will come.
Yeah.
So let's give him a second chance. Your time will come. So what do you say? It's not because people don't like you.
Right.
And they don't like your message. When we're talking about longevity and how you can get Ghanaians to live long, instead of dying early the way it is happening in this country, gone too soon, painful exit, what a shock is happening in our villages and towns. Nobody likes that. But they are saying, we like your message. But we believe this is the time for this person. So when you go through an election like that, I don't take it personal. It's not as if they voted for somebody. They didn't vote against me, but his message was compelling, and they bought into it. So to me, I don't take it personal. I have no hard feelings.
Are you going to stand again and contest again?
Let me tell you, in politics, one thing I've seen is patience. Without patience, Joe Biden couldn't have become president of the United States of America. He had run against Barack Obama. It took that African American to put that old white man into the White House. So the currency for longevity in politics is patience. If you don't have it, as the case will say, you trip and you fall. So I have tons of patience. I believe in divine providence.
It sounds like you've always wanted to go into politics.
You see, the bottom line is this. When I went to America, something profound dawned on me, that politics is used to change nations. When Kennedy talked about going to the moon, it was a political voice that eventually put Americans on the moon. Ronald Reagan talking about creating the Star Wars and a city on the hill and extolling the America that everybody should be proud of, and America was rising. It was a political voice that put them there. Here, to a large extent, we have demonized politics as something bad. But in other jurisdictions, it's the political force, the political power that leads to transformation. And if you have to be able to make an impact and turn things around, it's the political platform that you must use.
So when you really look at the problems that we face as a nation, is the issue more leadership or the people?
I would say leadership. Why? You see, when you say the people, you are blaming the victim.
Isn't it the people that becomes the leaders?
But the bottom line is, in this case, you're talking about those who are leading the people who are following, right?
Yep.
When you say people and leaders.
Right.
But you are blaming the victim. There's nobody who doesn't want Ghana, a Ghanaian who doesn't want Ghana to prosper. If it's not working, you have to ask yourself, what formula am I implementing? Just like I talked about the universities, right? You can sit here and lament about development studies and all the courses they are offering, which is not good for the country. They are not partnering. But you, as the leader, what is the framework that you've created that allowed them to seamlessly move in your direction? I could have lamented about the fact that in Ghana, the visual artist will never be an engineer and all those things, and people will reason with me and empathize with me, but I have to find a way to get the university to do something that would typically not do. And that is why I think it's the leader, not the people. You have to look at the people that God has given you to lead and say to yourself, how am I going to get them to do something that they would typically not do? If you can't figure that out, don't blame them. They are the victims. So when you are leading, look at the people who need to follow you and say, how can I get them excited? How can I get them motivated? How can I get graduates from University of Science and Technology, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, who are graduating from Agric to set up their farms on Afram plains? It may mean that their last year, 1 year, of agricultural science from the university will be on a campus situated on Afram plains, where they go and spend a year there. As teachers do teaching practice, they will do agricultural practice far away from KNUST. Land will be allocated to them. The equipment is there. They will cultivate the land, and the proceeds from it, half of it will be kept by them. And after they finish, do you want them to stay there, build an agricultural city? A city whose schools and hospitals are better than those in Accra. Have an airstrip there in case of emergency, people can be flown out. Then you're going to see university graduates getting into agric and doing commercial farming. Because you have created an incentive and created a pathway where the wife, the new wife that he's marrying, the young lady who is marrying this agricultural science graduate, wouldn't mind living in Afram Plain City because it has better facilities than Medina. So, most of the time, we wish things happen. But we have to create the things that we wish happens. And as a leader, those are the things that you think about. Today, I was hearing a radio station called Okodia FM in Kumasi, and they were lamenting about the potential increase in lorry fares and people who are stranded, they can't get their cars home. And in fact, the presenter was talking about a woman who was trying to get a car to a Joso, and they had increased the fare to 10 cedis yesterday, and the woman could not afford the 10 cedis to get home. So he said he went to her and gave her 10 cedis to take a car to get home at a Joso. And he was lamenting. The presenter was actually angry, right? And lamenting and actually lambasting the drivers for cruelty. And as a politician, you know what I was saying to myself? What stops her from getting a quality public transportation system? Why is it that we come from a time when we have the Omnibus Service Authority? Public buses. You stand at Tonsu and you have the buses coming, Jache is in front, going to your village. 30 years ago, we had a public transport system, and today we don't have it. And instead of challenging ourselves, we rather blame the private car owner. What went wrong? How did we do badly? How is that 40 years ago, I was riding the train with my father to Insun Sarden, onward to his village at Antubam in Manso Amenfi. I was sitting in a sleeper with him. And today I can't sit in a train to Western Region with my son. We've gone backwards. And we need to wake up. During our time, an attempt was made to do, we didn't finish. The Western Railway should be done. So invariably, we look at the problem, The solution, we are not prescribing what needs to be done. If you want to change mindset of people, for them to know that everything is possible, you build a crash STEM school. People go there and say, wow, so public school can be this good? But don't leave it there. You give them quality, different type of uniform. People are saying, wow, public school students can dress this way. So you are improving their self-efficacy for them to understand change is possible. If you come to power, for example, and you can get public buses, right? For just one city, a part of the city, public transportation system, 15 minutes, there's a bus, you board, and then people are beginning to say, wow, there's a new Ghana.
So Honorable, then, in the same vein, when things are not done, should we blame the president or the ministers and the MPs? I'm just trying to figure something out here. Because I think we know all the problem. We figured it all out. But every 4 years, it never gets done.
Some things get done, but don't give ourselves credit for the things that we've done. So invariably, what happens is that we get frustrated. We don't draw inspiration from what has been done.
Oh, no, but that's one part.
Yes.
But the other part is that the pregnant women who are not getting beds, the students who are still under trees, these are all problems that we see as a country. But every 4 years, we still see them. The floods, we still see the same problems.
My brother, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
When you mention the pregnant women who are not getting beds, currently pulling some people together, and I want to be the ambassador of it, and the program is catching from joy to grief. When a woman is pregnant, there's joy in the air. A baby is coming. Go to the hospital. We lose the child, lose the mom, and there's grief. And that kind of grief is a level of grief that is difficult to describe because they were expecting some joyful noise of a child crying, and all of a sudden it has become grief. And that is something that truly bothers me. I lost my sister that way. And I think as a nation, you can do better. Recently, about a month ago, I commissioned an extended part of a maternity ward in my constituency. There were only 8 beds there, and I added 12 beds so that the women can come there and deliver and be comfortable. I met with nurses and midwives, all of them in my constituency, together with the director for health, crafted an action plan to bring about zero maternal mortality in Bosomtwe.
Right.
So they were telling me all the challenges and why some women don't even come to the clinics. And then we discovered that one of the things we needed to do is to do customer service training for the nurses and midwives so that the village woman who is even shy to come, when they come, they will feel good because the nurses are saying something good about them. So there will be no shyness coming so that we can save them. Because they say when you get to the 3rd trimester and they have not been there, it's a potential case. So, my brother, yes, it's there. But I think we are going to have to say to ourselves, where is the empathy? Where is the determination? Where is the sense of urgency? If you don't have all these things, it's going to be difficult for you to be a good leader. Whichever level you are, whether you are the president,
or the minister, right,
or the minister, the level of empathy that you bring to the job with, where you really feel it when something goes bad, it tells you we should not allow things to go bad. You see, when we talk about how nurses treat patients, right, I'm not holding a brief for them that what they're doing is right. But I also always ask myself, why is it that employees at the bank, tellers, are trained so well about customer service? I have a friend who was hired at Barclays Bank in the UK, and he said he went for 4 months non-stop customer service training before he started talking to customers. Why do we assume that nurses by nature should just be so nice to the patients, and we are not training them? When we say some of them don't care, and that is why this no-bed syndrome is there, what training have we offered? So the issue comes and we all lambast them. It ends right there. Where's the customer service training? Why do we assume that they should be superhumans and they shouldn't, everything should be perfect? When we have not bothered to offer them the training that they need to get, training that they get continuous education training that we get in other countries. So at the end of the day, the problems are there because we are not looking at age-old problems with a new set of eyes. We are looking at age-old problems with the same set of eyes. And at the end of the day, the problems stay. And at the end of the day, we win elections. And we'll come back again. At the end of the day, people are suffering. But it seems as if we don't even feel the suffering.
You think you are too empathetic to be chosen?
There's a guy who saw me and said, "You're too nice." he said, "You're too nice." I said, Ghanaians they deserve that. But at the end of the day, my brother, we have work to do. Because you see, if you want to end no bed syndrome, you have the KPIs. You can have a health czar whose job is to end it. And that's how he was hired. And under his watch, there should not be any no bed syndrome. That is the charge from the president. That it shouldn't happen again. And this is your job. You have staff. If you have to inspect. Nobody should die because there was no bed. This is KPI. Zero death coming from no bed syndrome. And then training. And then let's see what happens. If you take 2 hospitals and offer high-level training in customer care, those 2 hospitals may never report the no bed deaths because they know what to do. People have been trained.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I'm sorry to say this and use these words, but a lot of the government institutions are run terribly. Customer service is terrible. The maintenance is not good. Most people will choose private over government. Those people that have their money. And it's clear. We see that. And this is the frustrations of the average Ghanaian, whether they are in the diaspora or they live in this country.
But the average Ghanaian, at a point, should also redirect their energies towards who becomes our leader. You see, let me tell you. How did Obama become president? People like his ideas and vision, and they gave him the money because they knew that he would need the money to win. We were sending money, some of us. Credit card and send money. So if we want change, we cannot just sit there and expect a change.
We must back the change.
We have to back the change. Where the political action committee that says we are tired and therefore across the aisle, whether it's NDC or MPP, we are looking for candidates that will sign on to this 10-point plan, that they want to run for parliament and they will sign off to the 10-point plan that we have given him. And that is the reason why we are sending him to parliament. And when we go to parliament, these are the things that he's going to do. If he doesn't do it, we are not supporting him. MPP, NDC, we are looking for people who will do this. And when they go to parliament, they will come together and execute this agenda on our behalf, and we are backing them with our resources. But when you allow people to do freelancing, they look for their own money and secure power. How do you get them to do the kind of things you want them to do when you did not support those who can do great things? On both sides of the political aisle, there are people that you can support and see if these guys were in parliament, things would be different. But are you supporting them to come to parliament? They're overwhelmed by those who may not care but have the money.
Let me stop you here for a minute. So if it's your first time watching Konnected Minds, or you have been here before but still have not subscribed, do us a favor, because majority of the people that watch our videos have not subscribed. This doesn't help us grow beyond what we expect. So help us by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you. Now let's get back to the conversation.
You have a university professor who can be a great parliamentarian based on his utterances and the work that he's doing, but who is supporting him to come to parliament? So we get the leaders that people are creating for us.
Wow. People are creating for us.
Yes. Not the ones that we are creating.
Well, Honorable, then on this topic, then how do we, as a nation, create highly effective schools, especially within the public sector?
In Ghana, one interesting thing is that people send their children to private schools at the primary and junior high school, and they want their children in the best public schools when they are going to high school. It's very uniquely Ghanaian. So that's why they pay tons of money to go to private school. They want that to become the entry point into Wesley Girls, into Presec, into all these schools. And the question is, we have limited number of this category A schools.
Right.
So it's always a hassle. So when I was the Minister for Education, one of the things I wanted to do was the new schools that we're creating, we wanted them to be off the bat category A schools.
And which are some of the ones that you did?
Abomusu, STEM.
Right, I think
it's a category A school, Bosomtwe Girls category A school. All these schools were made category A before they did their first exam. So the question was, how do you get them to be truly category A?
But how did you do it?
Yeah, so this is what we did. The first thing I did was to begin to look at the unique features of all the high-performing schools in Ghana. We have a researcher who went and looked at the unique features, unique attributes of high-performing schools in Ghana. Then we decided that we want to literally put those attributes in the new schools that we're opening. In order to do that, we created what is called school affiliation.
Okay.
So Bosomtwe Girls, for example, was affiliated with Wesley Girls in Cape Coast. We got the former Wesley Girls headmistress, Mrs. Jokoto, to mentor Bosomtwe Girls and guide them. Mentor Abomusu. But also wanted Abomusu to be affiliated with Presec. So we brought an assistant headmaster from Presec to Abomusu. Now, Abomusu is one of the high-performing schools in Ghana now.
Really?
Yeah, because he brought the DNA of Presec to Abomusu. Best practices in Presec. To a point that the next phase was that if the school we are affiliating with is a mission school, we'll bring that mission to affiliate with the school. A Presbyterian chaplain will come to the school. So that you are actually replicating Presec as much as you can.
Right.
At Abomusu. So now the results is out. If you look at Bosomtwe Girls' high performance.
Yeah, I think recently they even won, there was a robotics
competition.
Yeah.
They won the Ghana competition and went to the US and about 26 countries, and they were number 4. What did I do after I left government and I'm their member of parliament? I recruited examiners to go and teach there. And I pay. It's not on government payroll.
Wow.
Any school that is doing well, for the most part, they have a number of examiners who are teaching there. So if you want new schools to perform, you have to incentivize examiners, literally poach them to go there. And one of the things I was going to do, which this government can do if they want to, is to have a post-retirement contract for teachers who retire as examiners. So if you are at Presec and you turn 60 and you retire, we can give you up to 5 years to go to Kokrobeto Senior High School. That is struggling. And if you want, go there and serve them for 5 years and change the school. If you're a headmaster of a high-performing Wesley Girls School or Presec and you retire and you want to go to a low-performing high school anywhere in the country, we can give you a 5-year post-retirement contract to go there and help change the school. Leadership matters. Why is Manfi Girls a high-performing school now? An assistant headmistress from Wesley Girls was transferred there and she changed the school. Aguna Nyakrum got an assistant headmistress from Wesley Girls and she almost changed the school until she was transferred. Ahantamai Girls got an assistant headmistress from Wesley Girls and now it's a top-performing school. Leadership counts in education. So at the end of the day, if you understand that there are 50% of our high schools, unfortunately, have such poor performance at the WASCE. In fact, 50% of all high schools in Ghana have a 10% pass rate on the WASCE.
50%
of high schools in Ghana have a 10%, when I say pass, transition those who qualify to move to the university from high school.
Only 10%.
Only 10%.
Wow.
We battled it. And these schools can benefit from those affiliation opportunity. There were some schools that were getting 1% pass rate. If 100 students go, the only one can move on to the university. And I brought all of them together, and they signed a performance contract. I've sent people from MasterCard Fund, supported. There's something called TTEL. MasterCard Foundation support them. They send experts to the schools to get the schools to improve. But they had to sign a performance contract. Unfortunately, when the new government came through GS, they said, oh, they don't have to sign a performance contract. It was part of the campaign, no performance contract. Any job that you do, if there's no performance contract, there's no sense of urgency. So when the results went down and people were blaming even us, so you discontinue performance contract, so the headmaster is not under the gun. And then exam or practice.
Apo.
When I became Minister for Education, one thing that we did I'm proud of is that we stopped examination leakages at the BUC level. How did they stop? We started serialization. The first year, all the regions had different questions. So I remember there's a website where people were selling questions. They shut it down because the questions that came, they didn't know it was voter region. So people who bought it then didn't go there to buy. If I had secured the $20 million that WASCE needs to buy the new equipment that they needed, examination malpractices would have been a thing of the past in Ghana. Because when it comes to essays, WASCE can produce about 1,000 essay questions, and you sit in a room and our questions are different. So if the teachers want to go and hide in the bush and answer, whose question are you answering? Everybody has different questions. Whose question are you answering? If you go serialization, there will be no examination malpractice in this country. It will be over. And using AI, you can grade the exams. So what you do is this. Through serialization, what you do is this. When you get a question papers, there are version numbers. If you don't want to serialize at the personal level, you can serialize at a group level. What does that mean? I have a question booklet in front of me. It's called version 2. So I get my answer sheet and I have to bubble in version 2. Because the questions on version 2, question 1 may be on photosynthesis, but on version 1, question 20 is photosynthesis.
Right.
So you can't sit and say number 1, A, number 2, B. Whose number 1 is A?
That's clever.
We can end it. So sometimes when I look at the challenge, I see a great opportunity. Can you imagine if an examination were able to stop bees? But if we can move it to WASCE, in fact, WASCE, they were able to do different questions on the multiple choice for different examination centers. But we have to move into the essay questions. And if you do this, examination malpractice will be over.
Yep, and the students will take it more seriously. And
that is it. Yeah. When you end examination malpractice, teachers will teach better.
Yep.
And students will learn. Because they know if I'm the chemistry teacher and I don't teach, I'll be exposed by the exams.
There are teachers who mess up with students for grades in this country. A lot of young girls have spoken about this. Honorable, I'm not putting this too direct to you. I just really want to find out what are some of the cases that either have come to you, you've dealt with, you've been involved in, to advise people and whatnot.
We had similar cases when I was the minister through the Director General, Dr. Nkansa. Some teachers were removed. In one case was a headmaster in one school in Ashanti region who had to be immediately removed. But at the end of the day, we have to look at best practices around the world. In America, there's a reporting requirement, right? And the reporting requirement is not about if something is happening to you, go and tell your headmaster. You can tell any teacher, and that teacher is required by law to report to the law enforcement unit that deals with the problem.
Our culture doesn't allow.
So the reporting requirement, you see, is about linking this with your license.
Right, to practice.
Yeah, if you don't report and the student says that I told Mrs. B, you can get your license removed. And therefore, you are careful. removed from the list. And therefore, we are careful. So at the end of the day, you see, we have to create a system where the reporting requirement is not on the headmaster, it's on any adult who the child complains to. And when that is the norm, the children will feel empowered to also complain. Because they tell the house magistrate, the house magistrate has to go and get a form and fill the form and submit it to the agency that deal with child abuse. And they will come to the school. And they can be anonymous. But when they come, they confront you with a set of facts. They are not going to say, oh, Mrs. B reported you. No. But they come and confront you with a set of facts. So at the end of the day, these issues are systemic issues and they can be confronted only with systems if you don't create powerful systems. So, for example, you don't have a dean of discipline, but you are lamenting that there's indiscipline in our schools. We introduced dean of discipline for the first time in the history of this country. Every high school selected somebody who is the dean of discipline, the arrowhead for enforcement of discipline in the school. He doesn't teach. All the work that he does is to ensure that there's discipline. If anything is going on in the class, we go there and remove the student. And sometimes they are the mean, tough teachers. They sit in a room, the dean's office. Students who are going there are shaking in their boots because they are going to see the dean. All that I want this new government to do is to institutionalize it, make it permanent.
Wow. This conversation, if I it could go on and on because my frustrations come out anytime, and I just want to ask questions. But Honorable, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate this. This has been an eye-opener for me myself. I get the opportunity to sit here and then ask you these questions. I don't take it lightly. I've seen you speak at my children's school very passionately. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And to my viewers and to my listeners, thank you so much. If you made it to the end, leave a comment and let me know how you think it went. My name is Derek, and I'm out.